Welcome to SIM-PAC Live. I'm your host, Jeff Matthews. Today we talk to Dave Simmons, the GM of Client Solutions and Innovation for Hiway. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Jeff. It's a privilege to actually have a chance to talk about highways and Mastercarb 8.
Yes. Now, both your Mastercarb 8, I want to get into that in a minute, but let's go back to highways. This company's been around 40 years. It's 250 employees. It's across Australia and New Zealand. It's a big company doing serious stuff.
Yeah, it is a big company. In fact, it's the largest in situ recycling company in the Southern Hemisphere. The 250 employees probably has expanded quite significantly over the last 6 months with some acquisitions and some takeover bids. So the company sits probably just over 300 employees, and it's been doing some wonderful things, certainly in and around the recycling of pavements.
Of pavements, and we're talking roading here. To other people, you build roads.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. We're specialists in this area, and it's all in situ recycling. So we build the pavement layers from the base. With Mastercarb 8 particularly, we build it right through to the surfacing layer, and then we stop and we would put a traditional surfacing on top. But pretty much all of the base layers we stabilize with cements, limes, and other filler materials to give the pavement strength and stability. And again, when we come back to our new product, Mastercarb 8, it delivers an asphalt-like product, which we'll probably talk about as we go.
Okay. Let's the sustainability journey of the company. So your roads was a very fossil fuel based and very carbon intensive process. You use big machines, diesel driven, to dig up things, and then you would mix it with some sort of fossil fuel based tar, bitumen or something, and you've changed that process, and you're actually better than carbon neutral. You can actually be carbon negative in building a road now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's been the whole remit of the Hiway Group, since day one. So everything is about using what's already in the pavement as much as possible. And that's what gives us its greatest recycling ticket, I guess, if you like. So for 40 years, the company's been heavily invested in recycling and making sure that we're reusing materials that are already there. So that's the first start in the process. And ever since its inception, the company's always been looking for better, greener ways of actually, doing our work and building our pavements. When we go back to talking about Mastercarb 8, what Mastercarb 8 basically does, it replaces the asphalt product that we would normally use conventionally as a intermediate layer in the pavement or a base layer of asphalt. So what it actually does is it gives the in situ recycled material with specialty binders and a carbon sequestered medium together, blended into the pavement as we rework those products to actually provide a product that's as good, if not better than asphalt through its performance criteria. And in doing so, it has a massive carbon offset, so highly sustainable. And you're right, in some cases, it delivers a carbon negative outcome.
And this carbon sequestration binder, I know you work with C12, who actually won a SIM-PAC Live Sustainability Award in 2024 for manufacturing process, for how they were getting carbon or carbon black out of pyrolysis, their own pyrolysis. Can you explain that process for people who don't understand how we would get a carbon neutral product out of through that process?
Yeah, well, very basically, the pyrolysis and it's generally of what we call a biomass. So it'll be like a tree slash, sugarcane slash. It could be wheat or barley husks, anything like that that's actually drawing in carbon dioxide is then pyrolyzed at high temperature, high heat, and low oxygen. And that's the key, in an enclosed environment to actually produce a carbon sequestered medium. At that stage, when the process is completed, it can be taken and it's used. We use it in conjunction with a very specialized binder application, which is a bituminous type product, and it's injected into the base layers as the carbon sequestered medium is reworked into the pavement. And it's the compression of this product through rollers, etc., that form a covalent bond, a very strong and flexible bond, which is unlike asphalt in a lot of ways. And I won't try to get too technical today, but the bottom line, this product, Mastercarb A, produces extremely beneficial technical advances other than asphalt, and the fact that it's very strong and it's very flexible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's made from organic waste. And and just to explain for the people who don't understand that process of pyrolysis, I'll just clarify is that if you leave something organic to rot on the ground, it puts off methane, which is 30 times worse than CO2. Mm-hmm. But if you take that organic material and burn it in a low oxygen environment, you cut that by at least 50%. It's better than letting it rot outside is to actually burn it. Mm-hmm. And then you can get at various things, this carbon that's left over that then you can put into a road, and sequestration is that, well, you bury it in the road for however long and it's not in the atmosphere. So that's way better than letting the organic material and the sugarcane and whatever it was just rot out there on the ground. And a great process, but I thought it was worth explaining that. And then you're getting these binders that you're saying are outperforming. Now, outperforming in I think all ways, but you're talking about resilience or wear or flexibility. What are you talking there?
So we're talking all of those, really. So if we broke it down through three major asphalt tests, we compare it to asphalt. We're saying it's asphalt-like. So we've had to actually test these products to asphalt specifications. So we talk about rut resistance. So it has an extremely propensity to avoid rut. And a rutting, as you know, as you're driving the roads, you're coming up to intersections, you can see the dips and hollows in the roads. Well, that's when an asphalt product is rutting. This product, Mastercarb A, it avoids the rutting. It's got, at the end of life cycles of a testing for asphalt, it'll deliver about 0.5 to 0.7 millimeters of rut. And to put that into perspective, the asphalt specification, once you go over 4 mils of rut at end of life, the product is deemed to fail. 3.5 to 4%, just depending on what specification you're working with. So that gives you some indication how strong it is and how resistant it is to rutting. When we talk about modulus, just sheer strength, basically, it's up there. It aligns itself perfectly with asphalt, so it's not much better, not much worse, but it sits beautifully in the middle. So it's a very strong product. And then when we talk about the resistance to cracking, which is resilient modulus, we're finding that we're far surpassing what asphalt would do. And generally, when you have a strong product, an asphalt product, it doesn't deliver that same resilience. It has the propensity to crack a lot easier, whereas this Mastercarb A is actually showing a great deal of flexibility past end of life, which in event would give the product a longer lifespan.
Right. So, and your company's pioneered this, really, haven't they? And are other people looking over the fence and going, these guys are building these roads that are essentially carbon neutral or carbon negative, and they're getting a better life and product? What are they doing? Have you got competitors in the market that are looking at you?
We do have competitors in the market that certainly will be taking a lot of interest in what we're doing. Basically, it was the end of last year, so the end of 2024, when we went to market with this new product after proof of concept and going through lab trials, which probably took about 5 years in the making to actually get to this point where, it's like anything else. It's got to be fully verified before we can start using it. So the reality is this year we've really got a concerted marketing campaign, and we're reaching a lot of government agencies like federal government, transport, main roads, Queensland, TMR, Transit New South Wales. So there's a lot of interest in that area. Then we're hitting a lot of councils as well at local government level, and they're very, very keen to look at this because, like everybody, we've got 2030 goals, as do they, to reduce carbon emissions, and there's no better way of doing it than using this type of product.
And when you look at companies that are striving for sustainability and trying to deliver sustainable products into the market like you're doing, you talked about 5 years development. There is a lot of hard yards to go in, and I'm interested in where it's being driven from in your company. I'm assuming it's being driven from CEO level or ownership level downwards, and that it's got buy-in at all levels. I mean, how do you see where do you see the drivers for this coming from within your own company?
Well, it's like I said, in situ recycling and reusing materials has been the mantra of the company from day dot. So it's already ingrained in the fabric of Hiway, which was one of the main reasons I actually came to work for the company. I just love, their ethos and what they're about. So at Highways, we have our own in-house technical team, which drives innovation. We have monthly innovation group meetings where we have the general managers right down to operational managers and technical managers all join the group discussions. And a lot of the time is spent on the products that we are innovating and what's next. So we're always looking for that next advantage, that next opportunity. And that flows right through to all of our teams. So the conversations are very interactive, they're very open, and certainly all the ideas are well embraced until they're exploited and they're either going to be taken on board or not. So we also have 6 monthly what we call blue sky meetings, where we have a dedicated team right across the group who join. It generally takes about 3 to 4 hours, where we explore new opportunities, new systems, new processes, and even new equipment. Anything that's going to benefit the business moving forward in its mantra of sustainability and better outcomes for the pavement.
Awesome. That sorry, I couldn't help but think that having people like some of your team could have done very well to accompany you to SIM-PAC Queensland, because we're always trying to get out of our silos and look at what's happening next door and in that whole supply chain. And it's great to see that you've got teams that are just thinking, not only what's new in their bit of the silo, but what's happening with this whole supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's very exciting for us too, Jeff. It's a massive point of difference. In fact, there's nobody else in the world using these products in the way that we're using them. So it's a world first initiative. And, we've recently engaged with NTRO in Melbourne, which is the National Transport Roading Organisation, which used to be ARB, the Australian Roads Research Board. And they've taken a massive interest in what we're doing for all the same reasons. They're a very progressive organisation. They're into innovation and sustainability as we are. So there's a great partnership there, which we're really looking forward to exploiting further.
Yeah, fantastic. And you guys, you're excited about the future? I mean, you've done all this work to get here. You're in a leadership position in the world. I know that, trying to get forward momentum with sustainable products in the market is harder than it should be, for a lot of people. It's a lot of people are going, everybody talks about wanting sustainable goals. We're ESG out of our minds, and we've got reporting. And yet, when it comes to actually people uptaking things that are going to decarbonise in a meaningful way, they want another study done. How are you finding that?
Yeah, look, you're not wrong. It's a hard road to hoe, as they say. It's certainly it's breaking barriers and breaking the norms. So what we're doing is completely different. From myself, I've got an asphalt background, and myself nearly 40 years in the industry. And when I first came across the concept, it played with my mind. It didn't seem right. It didn't gel. I couldn't put all the pieces together. It just didn't seem right. But it's actually when you see it being utilized and you see it manufactured and how it actually performs both in the laboratory and on the actual job sites that we've applied this product, it's mind-blowing. It's incredible. But transferring that to government agencies, to consultants, to people that, their lives, their jobs depend on making decisions whether products are good, not good, whether they get introduced into market or not. Yeah, it's really difficult. It's hard getting that buy-in. And of course, the old stage specifications of these products precludes us from jumping straight in, because the word we always use is Mastercarb A is asphalt-like. It's not asphalt. It's
Yes.
asphalt-like. And that's the key, and it's asphalt-like for a lot of reasons. It handles, it behaves differently, it compacts differently, it's got very few air voids, and so it wouldn't meet a conventional asphalt specification, yet it outperforms asphalt. So it's really bringing people along for the journey. And I think being aligned with an organization such as NTRO, who are highly credible worldwide, they've got industry experts right throughout their ranks. The endorsement from them to already work with Hiway in a close-knit capacity to develop this product further and bring it to market suggests that, we're onto a winner collectively, and they see the value in what we're doing. And they will help us actually permeate that market and develop specifications to bring comfort to federal and local government agencies and others alike.
Dave, the potential carbon savings of what this can deliver. I mean, I know it was a very carbon intensive process before, but where are the parameters? How far do you think this can go negative?
Oh, well, look, we've run out some major projects in Western Australia, and that was our beachhead for actually proof of concept and proving the actual product. So I'll give you an example. For one job alone, which was only 11,000 square meters, at an average depth of roughly about 130 millimeters across that, we actually delivered a carbon negative posting of 54 tons. So 54 tons of carbon were actually saved from ordinarily using another conventional type of product. So that's the type of saving that's available. Again,
sorry, I missed it. How many square meters or kilometers of asphalt
kilometers
we're talking about?
Not kilometers, 11,000 square meters in total.
11,000 square meters.
Yeah, and that was split for three areas on one particular job at a place called Watheroo in Western Australia.
Yeah.
So that's
that's anything that you're taking a process that's carbon intensive and making it carbon negative, and as you said, the performance, you're getting better performance out of it. What are the downsides? I'm assuming you're competitive with your pricing, otherwise you wouldn't be in the market.
Well, that's a really good question, because when we talk about the pricing of this product, we say it's asphalt-like, and I've demonstrated verbally how much better this product will be than asphalt from some of its performance testing and its resilience. But it's actually a lot cheaper than asphalt. And importantly, the construction time is about half of that of a normal asphalt job. So when you start adding up the benefits, the cost benefit is massive. The sustainability benefit is unequaled. It's second to none. And you're recycling, not using virgin materials out of aggregates and putting trucks on the road, bringing them to and from. You start to get the big picture. It just ticks every box, Jeff.
As I said in a recent interview with Janus Electric, who's doing this battery swap technology, and they can swap a battery of a big prime mover in under 4 minutes. I said, they're running out of excuses. That's the naysayers.
Yeah.
And with your asphalt, they're running out of excuses. If you go down the list, they're running out of excuses. So, And look, we need to be doing everything we can to fast forward these things, because one of the things that we say at a lot of SIM-PACs is do the things that are the low-hanging fruit. Do the things you can do now, because there's so much, and people want to concentrate on the very hard things we can't do. what are we going to do about jet fuel? Okay, do what you can do now. And this is something you can do now. You can change your purchasing just by different procurement. You could change a road that's going to be something that's carbon intensive to make it carbon negative. It's a do now, and I love it. Thank you. Yeah,
You're welcome.
So, Hiway, what's your scope of work? I mean, we know you build roads, but the company's a big company; it must do other things. And you talk about it in situ recycling. What else do you do?
Well, it's all in situ recycling, Jeff, but it's where we work. So we work anywhere from airports, port authorities, rail authorities, transport main roads, like main roads, big highways, right down through to subdivisional work, to anywhere where pavements just need to be stabilized, essentially. So we work right across the whole roading sector, the whole civil sector, where anywhere a pavement is in need of strengthening, of rehabilitating, or actually replacing, or making new, that's where we play. That's our field of work. So the scope is massive.
And in terms of range of size of clients, you said doing subdivisions through to main roads. I mean, that's across the whole, almost across it. You don't do individual households, but basically there's that's a wide range of clients.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that is the scope of work where we actually perform all of our tasks. So all of those clients and customers that I've mentioned, we're right in beside them, and we've worked with them all.
Great stuff. Look, we're certainly at SIM-PAC. We're hoping for you guys' success. You're founding members of SIM-PAC Live, which we appreciate.
Thank you.
And hopefully this year you'll also enter yourselves into the SIM-PAC Live Sustainability Awards. As I said, your research partner C12 won the award for manufacturing last year, and we hope to see you there, and we hope you all the best, and we hope you get the traction, and we hope that your asphalt becomes a specification of the future.
Not an asphalt, it's asphalt-like, Jeff.
Asphalt-like, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, Dave, and thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to have a chat about this wonderful product and showcase it with you. So much appreciated, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.